Trump has been blunt in exposing Putin as soon as he took office. The meaningless war regime launched by Putin and asserting that Putin is the one who is making Russia miserable. This happened after Putin sent a congratulatory message, hoping that Trump would help him save face and end the war. However, Trump declared that the problem is not that Ukraine does not want peace, but Putin. If he wants peace, Putin just needs to withdraw his troops. In today's video, there are two parts. That is the problem of Russia and China. Please watch this entire video to understand the problem. We will learn more about Trump's statements about Putin, the war in Israel, plans with TikTok, and US-China relations. We all know that before Mr. Trump was the 47th president of the United States of America, we heard that Mr. Trump would make America great again and to confront China. Mr. Trump appointed the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Marco Rupa, who is a very hawkish person with China. A strange story and Mr. Trump's subsequent actions. After a few days, it created a confusing atmosphere before Mr. Trump became the 47th president of the United States. He once said a sentence on the first day that I would tax China and Mexico at 10%. Canada and Mexico were 25%, but when Mr. Trump took office, we did not hear any news from Mr. Trump. Now he is not punishing China, but he is also rescuing TikTok. Mr. Trump is shaking hands with China. Both sides benefit, not confronting China anymore. Immediately, the press of many countries reported it. People still do not know. Not long ago, Mr. Trump had an explanation about this issue when people said, "Why don't you punish China?" You said it, but wait until early February. We are looking at everything in February. China is the country that produces the banned substances and has gone through the pipeline through Canada and through Mexico. We know, even if Mr. Trump shakes hands with China, there will be some of us who are disappointed. One of Mr. Trump's statements is, "I am the president of the United States, not the president of everyone." He has a responsibility to serve the United States. He has no responsibility to serve us. Americans are the ones who voted for Mr. Trump, not us. So if Mr. Trump has political policies that do not satisfy you, then don't be too sad because his responsibility is not to serve humanity or to serve other countries. He will put the interests of the United States first, so we have to understand that. With Trump's comments about Putin, when asked when he would talk to Putin, Trump said it could be very soon. He spoke about Ukraine and Russia, noting that most people thought the war would be over in a week, but it has now been 3 years. Trump said Putin cannot be happy with the current situation. With nearly 1 million Russian soldiers and 700,000 Ukrainian soldiers dead, Russia has more troops, but that is no way to run a country. Trump revealed that Putin and Zelensky both want to reach a peace agreement, and he is willing to work to support that. I don't know if Putin will reach a deal, but he should. Failure to reach a favorable agreement is depressing Russia with a weak economy and rising inflation. I hope Putin wants to reach a deal, and if necessary, I will continue to apply pressure, preferring tariffs because they are more effective and help strengthen the dollar. I previously put sanctions on Iran and almost bankrupted them. Russia is also suffering from the consequences of a 3-day military campaign that has lasted nearly 3 years, with 1 million casualties and no closer to achieving its goals. Russia is edging closer to bankruptcy, with inflation spiraling out of control. Inflation is officially around 9.5%, but could actually be as high as 25 to 26%. Food prices are rising sharply. If Putin fails to negotiate a deal with Ukraine, external pressure may need to increase. Russia is already the most heavily sanctioned country, and Putin's special military economy is fraying. If no deal is reached by 2025, Russia's economy risks shrinking like the former Soviet Union. Before moving on to Trump's other comments, let's look at Putin's statement, in which he congratulated Trump on his election as the 47th president of the United States. President Trump won and pledged to restore direct relations with Russia, which the previous administration had suspended. He also affirmed that he would do everything possible to prevent World War III. Putin congratulated Trump and expressed his readiness for dialogue based on equality and religion, especially on the Ukraine conflict. He stressed that the goal is not just temporary ceasefires, but long-term peace, religion in the interests of all parties in the region. However, With the Russian economy weakening and the oil industry failing, sanctions and Ukrainian UAVs continue to irritate Russia, destroying refineries, ammunition depots, and chemical facilities, reducing Russian profits. The Biden administration also sanctioned the Dark Fleet, responsible for 80% of Russia's oil revenue. After the sanctions, Russian oil tankers have been stuck in India and China, fearing that they will lose access to the US dollar. Moving on to the TikTok ban, Trump previously made notable comments about the Israel-Gaza war. When asked if he could maintain a ceasefire in Gaza, Trump replied that he was not confident because it's not our war. He recognized that Gaza was a destroyer and needed to be rebuilt in a different way. Trump said that he could support the regeneration of Gaza equipment because it was a great location with great resources. However, he stressed that the future of Gaza depended on the change of government and could not continue with the previous leaders. With the current tensions, not only experts but also Israeli leaders did not rule out the possibility of continued conflict. Despite the continued ceasefire, the situation on the ground is still very unstable and uncertain. In addition, support from major powers, especially the United States, could complicate matters further. Maintaining peace remains a major challenge, and many fear that the war will continue to escalate despite the lack of timely courage from the parties involved. The Israeli Prime Minister has confirmed Trump's commitment to relax and support a temporary ceasefire. The first phase of the agreement is underway, and further talks are ongoing. Trump and Biden both support Israel's right to continue fighting if necessary, and Trump has decided to lift all restrictions on supplying weapons to Israel. Trump also believes that Saudi Arabia and Israel could normalize relations by 2025, which is surprising because Saudi Arabia had almost reached an agreement to normalize relations with Israel before the October 7th attack, with Iran being suspected. Continuing with the information on international relations, Trump believes that the normalization of relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel could benefit both sides, especially in dealing with the threat from Iran. This could help change the political structure in the Middle East, where Iran has always played an important role in conflicts and the strategies of neighboring countries. If this really happens in 2025, Trump also shared his views on war and international relations. He asserted that if he were still president, the conflict between Ukraine and Russia would never have happened. He pledged to end the war quickly and conclude peace. Regarding Israel and Saudi Arabia, Trump believes that the relationship between the two countries will be normalized, and this could happen through the Abraham Accords in the near future. Trump continues to emphasize that if he is re-elected, he will use strong diplomatic strategies to resolve international issues, especially the Ukraine conflict and Middle East relations. He believes that by bringing countries like Saudi Arabia and Israel together, it is possible to promote long-term peace and stability in the region. At the same time, he is committed to continuing to protect the U.S. national interests, ensuring that the parties agree with the allies. Trump has proposed agreeing with TikTok, requiring the company to sell 50% of its shares instead of requiring a full sale. However, this is controversial because the real issue is not Chinese ownership, but the risk that the Chinese government has access to Americans' data through the app. This could have a negative impact on users, has raised concerns about the safety of personal data. While the deal may bring major financial benefits, it cannot completely resolve. Trump has changed his stance on TikTok, commenting that although China may collect data from the app, he does not see TikTok as the biggest problem, emphasizing that Chinese devices and equipment technology are the main threat. However, he is still worried about TikTok. Regarding Mexican gangs, Trump signed an executive order designating them as foreign terrorist organizations, allowing the U.S. military to use force. He stressed that these gangs are causing the deaths of hundreds of Americans every year and need to be countered. Finally, Trump made comments about Kim Jong-un, saying that their relationship is very good and that he is not worried about North Korea's nuclear threat, because both have good understanding and cooperation.